let's say you commit a burglary and nothing happens, you think, oh, okay, maybe I can get away with this a second time. So that's a problem for us. So people avoid punishment. Now this creates a little bit of a problem for us because what it means is the people who commit crime the most will have the most experience and will know that they can avoid punishment. People who commit crime the least will think that they're going to get caught. And so what we actually find is that people who have no experience with the criminal justice system way overestimate how likely they are to get caught, and the people who have a lot of experience tend to be much more accurate in their, their estimates. So that's an issue for us. Instrumental crimes versus expressive crimes. Are there any crimes that people do because they're angry? Yeah, right? I mean, for example, the one that I gave you earlier, so a woman punching her husband after discovering he cheated on her. The fact is a person thinking rationally when they're angry? No, right? You're like, oh, I'm angry. So an expressive crime where somebody's angry, where their emotions are taking control, is a little different than an instrumental crime where somebody's carefully weighing things out. So if I'm thinking about breaking into a house, that's instrumental. I'm going to gain from that, and I'm thinking through my actions. But if I'm just angry at somebody because something they did to me, that's expressive. And so I'll behave really good. Commitment. How badly do you care about this? Turns out that matters too. So, as it turns out, like most offenses that happen, most crimes, the person who does it doesn't really care that much about it. They just kind of do it opportunistically. And so somebody has to really, if somebody really cares about finishing this action, then we won't like them to do it. Visibility. So, if I try to rob somebody in Times Square, what's the chance that someone's going to see me do it? Very high, right? It's going to be impossible to miss. If I go to, let's say, rural New Jersey, and I try to rob somebody there on some back street, what's likely that someone's going to see me there? It's a lot lower. So, is it something that's visible? One thing we know, for example, is that when you have more visibility, that decreases the likelihood that someone will commit a crime. And lastly, bounded rationality. Are there any things that might affect someone's ability to make good choices?
Mental health.
Their mental health, right? Sure. If somebody has a mental health problem, that could affect it. What else?
Drug problems.
Drug problems? That's a big thing. What else?
About childhood.
Okay, so childhood trauma could be influencing their mental state and their decision-making process. So one of the things we know is that people are not unlimited in their rationality. In fact, actually, how we make choices is affected by the traumas we've experienced, whether we're intoxicated. It's affected by whether we have mental health problems. It's affected by whether we're on alcohol. In the city of Chicago, does anybody want to guess what percentage of people who go into the jail who are arrested are on drugs or alcohol or test positive for drugs or alcohol? In Chicago? It's 80%. It's about 80%. 80% of the people going into the jail test positive for drugs or alcohol. That's a huge number. 4 out of every 5 people are, have drugs or alcohol in their system. That indicates that a lot of people are making decisions that's bounded by the drugs and alcohol they're taking. It's affected by it. Okay, so you want to switch to this then. Big theory, the most important one that I'm going to cover today, the thing that's most useful for you, is something called routine activity. So back in the 1970s, a couple of guys, Howard and Felsen, I used to work with Felsen, they said, okay, we can take this idea of choices and we can apply it not to just broad choices, but specific moments in a person's life, right? What I do now, the choice I make in the moment, what they call the situation. And in particular, what opportunities crop up at various times. So, let's consider a potential burglar. So burglars walking around a neighborhood, peering into windows. They're looking inside people's houses. And they look inside one house and they see a very nice television. Now, what's something else that they might see inside the house that would cause them to not want to break in and take that television? Yes. Security camera? Sure, what else? Dog? What else? Person? Sure. There's lots of things that could be there. So let's, for example, suppose there's a dog, right? A big giant dog, a Great Dane. I had a friend who had 2 Great Danes and a pit bull. Nobody was breaking into his house. So Person walks up, they see the big dog, they think, you know what, I'm not gonna break into this house, maybe I'll go on to the next one. Happens every day. Now, let's suppose that instead of this nice big dog, we have a slightly different dog as they look through the window. This dog. Okay. Now, is the burglar gonna think this dog is gonna stop them? No. I can deal with that dog. I mean, you know, it's tiny. So, in all likelihood, right, they're gonna take the television. And yeah, I spent too much time animating that. But the point being that Cohen and Bell said, they said, if we think about people's everyday lives and the opportunities that crop up, we can try to understand why crime happens sometimes and not others. Why does a burglar decide to break into one house versus the next? And they said there were three things that mattered. The three things had to be there for a crime to occur. The first thing is, right, what do they call the almost always important elements of crime? The first thing is likely, or what they originally called a motivated offender. There has to be somebody who's at least open to breaking